All right, guys. So part two here with Bart K, my favorite podcaster on YouTube. And I also have my health coach, Coach Jenn, with me as well. So Bart, you're looking awesome, man. How are you doing?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I've been on this carnivore 100% carnivore challenge run by the Steak and Butter Gang, led ably by Coach Raymond Nazon, who is the head coach for the Steak and Butter Gang. The Steak and Butter Gang, by the way, is the gang of folks that are coaching people to go 100% carnivore. They are affiliated with the Steak and Butter Gal, otherwise known as Bella, on her channel. So if you know who that is, you know who they are. Get yourselves involved in that, by the way. It's great. So it's a 90-day challenge that takes people from wherever they were, be that standard diet, be that whatever. In my case, it was 90 to 95% carnivore for quite some years. And it gets you over the line to 100% carnivore over a 90-day period. There's a set program that you go through. It's a set challenge that you do. Paradoxically, it starts out with absolutely stuffing your face full to the gills, absolutely filling yourself to the gunnels, 3 meals a day, so much food that to the point where you think if you put another mouthful in, you will actually tear down the seams. That sort of overeating for 2 weeks, which is all about getting your hormones to reset back in balance the way they should be, etc. Blah, 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 blah. It's also a bit of a psychological game, I think, to be honest. And then you go from there, you go to 2MADs, then you go to OMADs, and then you go to other day fasting and stuff. But by the end of the program, there's much more fasting and much less eating. All the food's up front in the first bit of the 90 days and none of the food's at the other end, pretty much is how it runs. And you're supposed to get all this recomp and all this improvement and everything. And I have been. So I'm about halfway through it and it's been fantastic. I've had a couple of hiccups along the way. That happens. We've dealt with them and are dealing with them. Yep. So I'm feeling great. Heaps of energy. Some recomp's been happening, even though I'm not supposed to be getting any recomp until a few more weeks yet, but nonetheless, I'm getting it anyway. Mm-hmm. It's all good. How are you?
Yeah, not the best right now. I'll be honest with you. So this is where I'm going to make a major announcement to you, Bart. Okay.
Okay.
And you could blast me as much as you want. Okay. I went really high fat, and I've been eating high fat. I've been doing carnivore now for, what's it been, about 11 months now. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was adjusted to the fat, right? To the high fat diet or whatever, doing the keto. And I think I just went a little bit overboard. So I went really high fat.
You were a lot overboard. Come on.
I went again. Okay, so
let's be truthful here.
Let me preface this by saying I went against Coach Jenn's recommendations and I went higher fat than I should have. It's partially because I love fat. You get pork fat. I could just eat pork fat all day, right? Anyway, so I went too high fat. I blew up my stomach. I got gastritis and I'm not good with fasting. So what I've done is I have gone vegan for 3 weeks. Now, before you shit on me, let me just say this. I look at Bart. Bart looks super angry right now. But listen to me, okay? So by the vegan diet, I mean I'm on an elemental diet, which is an all liquid. It's branched chain amino acids, MCT oil, a little bit of flavoring, and what else? And some salt and stuff like that. So I'm doing that. I'm going to do that for 2-3 weeks. I have really bad SIBO as well. So I'm kind of hoping it'll lessen the SIBO a little bit. That's what it's meant for. Give my gut a break. And then I'm going to go back to carnivore. But I'm going to go back to carnivore in a bit of a better way, as Coach Jenn would have me do it properly. And So
you're not actually eating any whole plants or anything like that.
No plants, but MCT, coconut.
Right.
So yeah, I'm technically I'm vegan, right?
Yeah, technically you are. That was just clickbait. You were just trying to rouse me there, weren't you?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't shit on you for that. I think that's a sensible approach. I think you do need to get things back under control, obviously, and that seems like a pretty good approach, especially if fasting is not going to work for you due to your history and stuff that we've spoken about behind the scenes. I understand why you'd say that. Absolutely. I've got no problem with that.
Oh,
I would like to see you back. I don't. I'd like to see you back on solids, preferably within a couple of weeks maximum. I wouldn't like to see you try and do this liquid diet kick for much longer than that, because you don't have a lot of stored fat on your body, son, and you'll start you'll start looking vegan again. Yeah.
I know.
You'll start looking vegan again. We don't want any of that.
Are you having any reactions to the drinks now? Because at one point you thought you were.
If I drink them too fast, the MCT oil powder could be a little bit hard on you if you drink it too fast. So I kind of more sip it very slowly now.
Yeah, it'll give you the shits if you drink it too fast.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Bart, I know you're not a big fan of the oils. So what's your take on MCT?
MCT is not one of the really evil characters in this cast of nasties, I would say. Coconut oil, even whole coconut oil, is not that bad. And I have a bit of an issue with the term coconut oil, because actually an oil is liquid at room temperature, and coconut fat is not. It's actually fat. It's not oil. Fat is solid at room temperature. Coconut fat is actually more saturated than is most beef fat, for example, most animal fat. It's up over 90% saturates. So if you're going to have any fat from the plant kingdom at all, to me, coconut's the way to go, provided that you don't have any issues with sensitivity to coconut or anything else that's in coconut, any of that kind of stuff. Certainly don't drink coconut milk. Don't eat the flesh of the coconut. But if you're doing coconut oil, I'm okay with that for a short period of time while you get things back under control, until you can get back onto the species appropriate and species specific diet of the fat and flesh of ruminant animals, largely grass-fed if you can afford it, and it's available to you, and it doesn't cost $1 billion like meat is starting to do here. Man, we grow the best meat in the world here in the former paradise of New Zealand, which is now known as the totalitarian state of Hardonistan, run by our fearless leader, Jacinda Ardern, who has decided that we must all comply in things. And that's not why you're called, though, is it?
Well, have you not been following the news in Canada?
Yes, Canadistan has been pretty amazing. I was going to say I don't know what's wrong with Trudeau, but I do actually know what's wrong with him. He's mentally insane, is what's wrong with the boy. He's basically signed his own warrant there. He will not get re-elected under any circumstance. It won't happen.
I hope not.
He won't get back in. He won't. It won't happen. Trust me. And that said, he was also in line for things like Secretary General of the United Nations and all sorts of other international postings after his term as the Prime Minister of Canadistan. He's blown that. There's not a single leader anywhere in the world now, even the so-called progressive left-leaning leaders, who would have a bar of him. He will not get an international. He's done. He's finished. As soon as his term is up as Prime Minister of Canadistan, that is the end of Trudeau's political career. Done.
Yeah.
There you go. That's my prediction.
I'm not an economist, but I think what's going to happen is I think the economy is just going to collapse and the pendulum's going to swing over. But that's just my take on it. But so Bart, before we begin, I'm really going to let Jenn take the meeting by the bootstraps, because
I love it when the ladies take the lead.
I'm going to let her take the lead. She's the genius here. You know, I think my brain doesn't work on this stuff. You know, I need the carnivore nutrition for my brain to function properly. But
yeah, that's what happens when you turn vegan.
But you know, I just want to, before we begin and before you guys get into it, you know, I'm just going to ask you what I care about, and I don't really care about anything else. Last time we talked about the carnivore ladies, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had a list. Now, Coach Jenn, she's here, so I don't want to talk about her, right? I think it's safe to say that she could be added to the list, but have you?
Sure, I like her already. I like her already.
Are these the carnivore babes you're talking about? I missed out on that.
Well,
yeah,
no.
Well, Scotty dropped me in a little bit. He said, who are the carnivore babes? Who's on your tap list? And I'm like, oh shit. What do I say? And of course, when you're on the spot, you sort of like it's a long list. It really is a long list. I haven't had a chance to think about it. I wasn't expecting that, and I was like,
well, you snooze, you lose, Jenn. If you haven't,
I would definitely be at the top of that list. I mean, come on.
But I was going to ask you, Bart. I was going to ask you, Bart, if there's any more on the list since we last talked.
Yeah, look, there's a whole bunch of people. I mean, we're just mindlessly objectifying women, of course, in a thoroughly misogynistic fashion. I'm fine, whatever. I've got nothing against that. It's not meant in any kind of mean spirit. We're actually trying to pass on compliments to some of these ladies on their looks. Not that the looks should be what they should be judged on at all, or not that should be any kind of marker of the value of them as a human being in any way. It's just who's attractive.
And a man can girl look good. I mean, it is.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and let's face it, there are carnivore guys who are very attractive as well, and otherwise too, perhaps. But that's for another day. Mm-hmm. Look, if I was going to make a list of things, of course, you still go to my original list. You go to Stephanie Person. She'd make the list, of course. You'd go to Bella. Bella would absolutely be on the list straight away, no hesitation whatsoever. Here's one for you: Megan Remedy. Holy shit! Holy fuck! If you don't know who that is, go and look out Megan Remedy. It's Megan with an H. Megan Remedy. Fuck.
Well, Jesus. I'm checking this out right now. Let's see.
Check it out right now, Matt. You'll shit yourself, honestly. Especially if you're drinking that crap there, you'll shit yourself. Who else is hot? Charmaine Clayton is hot. She's hot as fuck. No two ways about it.
Okay.
Of course, my lovely partner Pim is as hot as fuck. Of course she is. She's getting her hair done right now, actually. It'll be interesting for the next live stream. She's been growing it for happy birthday for her to the other day. She's been growing her hair. It's about, down to the small of her back, and it's all coming off today. The locks. She's getting a short haircut done, and of course she can't go to a salon.
I did that a year ago. Mine went down to my butt crack, and I cut it to right below my chin there about a year ago. Yep.
So she's made a couple of decisions. She's decided to cut it right back short, which she hasn't done in years. And the other thing she's doing is she's going to stop dyeing it, which I think is a great thing and a great move. Yeah. Let's go with the natural coloration, what it's going to be. So that's going to be good. And you'll see that on the next live stream. So anyway, she's on the list, of course, obviously.
It's good that we don't really need to worry about dyeing our hair much, right?
I
don't certainly.
When it comes to this podcast, I win the hair competition.
Well, depends. If you're speaking purely of the head, then yes, you win. Otherwise, no. Gotcha. I think
I'll let you have that one.
Good.
All right, I'll let you guys have at it now. Oh, sorry, you had some more. You had some more.
Look, give me some suggestions. I've probably got others that I just can't think of at this exact moment. But if you didn't make the list today, ladies, don't feel like you're not on the list. You probably are, because basically I'm a hoe.
Well, we have to give some honorable mentions. So there's Lady Carnivore. Lady Carnivore.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
You had Ribeye Rachel. She's just a very sweet girl.
Yep, she's a nice girl. Yes, very attractive looking girl.
Who else you had on? What's her name? Yeah, another girl on recently. I can't remember her name.
Kim Carnivore, the girl from Melbourne.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hot little blondie. Very nice, and a lovely lady as well. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you who else, of course. My offsider sometimes on this channel, Jessica.
Jessica.
Check her out.
Okay.
Look, if you have a look at my channel, Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What's some lucky ladies? I bet they're very happy to be on this list.
Yes, they're very.
There's going to be a huge competition. Everybody's going to be wanting to be on the list.
They should feel honored. We're going to come out.
I get a bunch of emails from people saying, I probably just couldn't figure it out.
Like a ranking system. We got to get this.
Let's not go there. We get ourselves, and that'll get us in trouble if we put them in an actual list of order. Jesus.
Come on, guys. Like, come on. We're not that bad, Anyway. Okay, so I'll let you guys have at it now. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I'm just going to ruin the entire podcast.
Keep your mouth shut. This is a free.
So Jenn, why don't you take the reins of this podcast and fire away some questions at Bart, and I'll just kind of sit here like a dumbass and listen to you guys.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. One question I have is with a good bit of my clients, few of my family members, even Scott, there's a lot of people that have struggled with certain issues popping up, like underlying conditions popping up when they start carnivore, right? And we feel like there's a lot of people out there that are saying, oh, all you've got to do is cut everything out and eat meat and you're just magically going to get better. Like it's going to work for everyone. So I wanted to get your opinion on that. First of all, are there people that need to be wary of starting the carnivore diet? Like number one. Number two, do you have a certain progression that you use if somebody, you feel like, say they've got a major oxalate problem or they've got, any kind of other major issues, major health concerns? Do you have like a phase program that you work somebody into the carnivore?
Awesome. Okay. Yes, great question. First of all, though, Scott, is that a fucking Tommy Tippy cup?
Is it what?
A Tommy Tippy, a Tippy's cup with two handles so they can't spill it.
I just...
Jesus Christ.
This is what happens when you turn vegan, man.
He's losing his mind.
He's losing his shit entirely, literally, probably. All right. Okay, yes. Okay. One of the biggest sources, I should probably not say this so much because it might cost me some business, but one of the biggest sources of clients I have are people who have been carnivore for 3 to 6, sometimes 9 or even 12 months, who suddenly run into problems. Suddenly the wheels fall off and it goes all tits up for them. And they can't understand why, because they've been doing it perfectly. They've been eating nothing but beef and water and, whatever else and blah. And, they did everything according to what we say you should eat and not eat and la, la, la. And so why is this happening? This is not fair and, blah, 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 blah. And then I say to them, well, okay, when you first went carnivore, let me guess, you decided to go carnivore one day and you hammered over that night. The next morning you were a carnivore, right? And you dropped out all the plants and all the carbohydrates overnight, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you did wrong. That's the first thing, okay? Don't change your diet to 100% carnivore overnight. That is one of the dumbest things you can do. Here's why. You have a whole population, a whole society, if you like, of microbiota of various different kinds, different species, different phyla. They're all together with you in your guts, in balance with each other, in harmony for most of the time, and when you're in health anyway, and they all get along and they all share resources and everyone's happy and nobody's causing a problem and it's all good. And then you suddenly change the available resources. You say, right, no more sugar, no more carbs, no more fiber for you guys. And the ones that have been living happily on the carbs, the sugar, and the fiber suddenly go, hang on a minute, where's our resources? And so they will start warring with each other for what resources there are. They'll start eating through your mucosal lining of your guts. They'll start eating into your gut linings. They'll start causing inflammation, leaky gut. And that can set off a whole bunch of really serious health problems systemically. And it can take 3, 6, 9 months to occur. And that's about the stage where the shit hits the fan, it all goes wrong. And the carnivore diet's not for me. No, I tried that for 6 months and then it was fine. And then it all went tits up. Yeah, because you didn't do a proper transition. So what I suggest to people is whatever plant material you're eating now, you want to halve it every week for 6 weeks, in effect. Half what's remaining. So in other words, 100% this week, 50% next week, 25% the week after that, 12 and a week, half the week after that, 6.25, and then basically 3%, and just drop it out.
So you're eating like one spinach leaf at the end?
Well, perhaps, it gets to the point where you go, no, okay, fine, we're out of here. We've finished with the carbs now. There's no carbs to speak of. Right now we're a carnivore. What I'm saying is take a number of weeks to achieve that. Don't do it overnight under any circumstances. Do not do that, no matter who you are. You might get away with it, but odds are you will not get away with it.
People don't. Yeah.
No.
So then, okay, so what if you have somebody who is down in that hole and they can't seem to find themselves out of it? How do you go backwards once you've already gone 100% for X amount of time?
Right. So there's a couple of approaches depending on how severe the situation is. Sometimes we need to add some material back in that would otherwise be undesirable of a plant-like nature in order to give a bit of relief from the immediate symptomology if it's really bad, and then ramp it back out over an even longer period than we would have done the first time around. Do it even more slowly than that. That's one approach. If the symptomology is but not absolutely, earth-shattering, I can't go to work, I can't do anything, then we can go straight to actual fasting as an approach to reset everything. So we might do a 24-hour fast, have a refeed day, another 24-hour fast, 2 refeed days, a 48-hour fast, 3 refeed days, a 72-hour fast, and then 3 refeed days. If there's still a problem, we do another 72-hour fast, and then another until we get it right. Usually by the time you've done 2 72s, you've 99% of clients are right by that stage, and they're right, thank you very much. And then I send them to bed. That's right.
Continue on carnivore and then just cycle.
Yep. Yeah. The only time we go back to adding plants back in is if we've got a severe problem.
Yeah.
Like someone who is literally falling to bits and, oops, okay, we need to give these guys something to work with and then phase them out more slowly.
Like my sister who ended up dumping kidney stones out of both kidneys, had to have 4 surgeries, and and her throat started closing up because her histamine went through the roof. It was a dangerous situation. And Scott and I have talked before about how most people out there talking about carnivore are like, oh, it's all roses and everybody should try it. But the reality is it can be very dangerous if it's not done properly, if it's not transitioned to properly. It's a lot. There's a lot more potential for danger than people realize.
Yeah. You did it wrong and you never really were a carnivore. That's what we said.
I know all about those kidney stones for sure.
Yeah.
It's not fun. You start dumping oxalate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, we're on that one. 1/4 teaspoon of pure citric acid in an 8-ounce glass of water twice a day for several weeks at a time.
Yeah. We've been trying a lot of things with my sister, but she's doing pretty well now, but we have to keep some oxalate in her diet.
That's the one. If it gets very serious,
and we're having to just kind of really taper that out.
Also, in that case, make absolutely certain that she's going nowhere near anything with vitamin C in it.
Right. We do avoid vitamin C like the plague because of oxalate, for sure.
Yeah. For those that don't know, vitamin C, excess vitamin C metabolizes to oxalate in the body.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that too. And they think we need so much vitamin C on this diet, right?
Well, you do if you eat carbohydrates as well, which you shouldn't do.
So that is a good little segue. I like to get into fasting because you were mentioning that. I'm a huge advocate for fasting. So tell me a little bit about some of the main benefits that you get from fasting.
Right. To me, just to qualify, just to operationally define terms, fasting, in my mind and in my vernacular, starts at 72 hours.
Okay.
That's
good to know because everyone has a range. I've heard anywhere from 16 to 72. So So, okay. So 72.
So a lot of people will refer to, they say, I do intermittent fasting. And I say, oh, do you? And what does your intermittent fasting look like? And they say, oh, I have a 16-8 window.
Yeah.
So you're eating every day, are you? Yes. Then you're not fasting. No, that's not fasting. That's just not eating for most of the day. That's quite normal. Actually, that's not fasting. I mean, strictly speaking, any second of the day that you're not putting food in your mouth, you are fasting. So right now, I am fasting. And right now, coffee with heavy cream has energy in it. So now I'm not fasting. Mm-hmm. And now I'm fasting again because I've swallowed it. Okay, strictly speaking. However, if you want to talk about, in effect, a fast, for me, that means you have not put in anything into your body that contains energy for 72 hours or more.
Wow. And what's the reasoning for that?
Because the effects of fasting, the really good beneficial effects of fasting, really start to kick in at around about that stage. And what I'm talking about is autophagy, mTOR modulation, a massive release of CD34 plus adult stem cells, a resetting of the immune system, those are the main ones, I think, from memory. All seem to magically kick in around about 72 hours. So prior to that, you're just not eating.
Yeah.
To me, that's my reasoning. Others see it differently. Fine. There are a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, there's some people out there that say that those main benefits that you get from fasting drop off at about 3 days. There's really no reason to fast over.
That's complete nonsense. I'm sorry, wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know who says that, but it's not me.
Yeah, I've heard a few other of those people that you love, that I know you love.
Okay, the benefits I'm talking about kick in at around about 72 hours, and they are off again in the ramping back off side of it at around about 11 days, actually.
Okay.
Not that I'm suggesting people should run off by themselves and do an 11-day fast. Don't run away and do an 11-hour fast without a coach who knows what they're talking about to coach you.
What's the longest fast you've done?
The longest fast I've done personally is 7 days, or 168 hours. I've never had the need to go any longer than that. Touch wood.
Yeah.
If I do ever have a need to go longer, I will, but I haven't had the need.
Yeah. I have never felt as good in my entire life as I felt at the end of a 7-day fast. I mean,
do you guys ever worry about like being nutritionally depleted doing a fast that long?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually, was who shouldn't fast? And then also there's a lot of controversy out there when it comes to gut healing, that you shouldn't fast when you're trying to heal the gut, because you have to get that good nutrition in for your body to use as building blocks in order to, like, say, build, more cells in the gut, or build that thing that lining.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think it's always a good idea to do some kind of priming prior to a fast. And priming is, for those that don't know, and it's outlined in the Steak and Butter Gang program, which is put together by the Steak and Butter Gang. Actually, it's the brainchild of Coach Raymond Nazon. And you can get access to all of that information if you join the Steak and Butter Gang. At the Steak and Butter Girl channel, there'll be links there. You'll be able to find your way there. It's not hard to find.
Nice plug.
I want to have a banner just like float across the screen.
Steak
and butter. Steak and butter. Sign up.
Yeah, so I'm kind of joint ventured with those guys at the moment by way of. No, it's not a commercial. I just happen to be working with those guys. Raymond is my coach. In terms of the practicalities of doing 100% carnivore eating and fasting. Obviously, I don't need a coach in terms of the science. I've got that down, but I need someone to help me with the practicalities of it. That's him. And when you're done with him, you're going to switch over to Coach Jenn. Okay, fine, cool. Sure, yeah, as I say, I'm a complete tart. I don't owe anybody anything. No, that's okay. So priming. What is priming? Priming is 3 MAD or 3 meals a day. If you hear someone's talking about MAD, OMAD is 1 meal a day. 2 MAD, 2 meals a day. This is 3 MAD, 3 meals a day. And what you do is you fill yourself to absolutely chock full to the gunnels, full to the gills, full to the point where you feel like one more bite and you will tear down the seams. 3 times a day. And you do that for a period of time, depending on what kind of fasting, what kind of period of fasting you're going to be doing. Generally, I would suggest that it lasts for at least a period of time that you will be fasting for after that. And probably for not more than twice the period of time that you'll be fasting. Otherwise, you'll just be eating like a fat bastard and you'll turn into a fat bastard eventually, of course. Interestingly, though, interestingly, the one time I've actually done priming, which was at the beginning of this year when I started this 90-day challenge that those guys are running, that I'm part of and I'm promoting, and we're doing all open hand, the channel, all of that. I was doing that 3 meals a day, flogging myself as full as I could possibly eat, as much food as I could possibly eat 3 times a day for 2 weeks in the first 2 weeks of January. And my weight on the scale went down by 8.5 pounds.
Wow.
During that time.
So why does that happen?
Because it's so anti-inflammatory, and therefore my water retention went down, and I just flushed a whole bunch of water out of my system that was weighing me down, most likely. Plus, I lost a little bit of fat, believe it or not, and I got some body recomp happening, even though I was eating a fuck ton of fat.
Interesting.
So
it's another argument to suggest that calories in, calories out is complete fucking nonsense.
Oh, absolutely. I don't believe in that at all. But so
it's all hormonal.
Yeah. You said, I missed what you said actually. You said, what is anti-inflammatory? And that's why you lost a bunch of
a fully carnivorous diet, eating so much food that
really?
Your body doesn't really even know what to do with it.
Eating more food, you're just saying that the carnivore type foods are less inflammation, not that eating more of the carnivore food would be less inflammation.
I think it's both, actually, Jen. Really? I think it's both that carnivore food is much less inflammatory than plant-based food. And also, I think having so much nutrition on board that your body goes, I'm so well catered for here, that it just calms its shit down. It stops being quite such a dick to you and goes, okay, I'm going to stop being so inflamed and just relax a bit, because it's clear you're feeding me. And so you actually get to this really quite serene place. The only thing that is disturbing during the priming period is you are so sick to the back teeth of eating. You just I'm so ready to fast. I never want to see food again, is how you feel at the time. If the world ends tomorrow, if there's no food delivered to any shops anymore, and you can't get food and you can't go and get your own food, and you'd go, actually, I'm going to be fine. I've eaten so much that it's not true, but it's how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. So I suggest before you do a long fast that you do a period of priming.
Can I ask you a question? I have a question for you, Bart. I had somebody tell me today that they couldn't do keto because they felt like it taxes their adrenals and they get adrenal fatigue when they go keto. Is that, do you think that that's true, or?
No, no, I don't. Okay. Not at all. No, I think that that's someone that's self-diagnosing, and that's someone that probably is not qualified to be self-diagnosing. Did they show you any tests to show that there was any kind of adrenal problem? No. Okay. If anything, what might be occurring for someone that goes very ketogenic very suddenly is that there can be a disturbance in their electrolytes for a time, and that can really affect their energy levels and how they feel in general. The solution to which is more electrolytes and make sure they keep their protein up, basically. The solution, by the way, is keep your protein up and take electrolytes. See how that sounds very different from eat 100 grams of carbohydrates a day if you feel like it. Hey, if you like, and lots of fruit and shit. No call. That's not the answer. The answer is keep your fucking protein up and take electrolytes, not carbohydrates, Paul. Okay, right. What's next?
Wait, who's Paul?
I don't know. Doesn't exist. Never heard of him.
I have no idea. I think he's some plant-based guy.
Oh
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be a vegan next year. Just wait.
Plants and honeybees. Yeah, good.
So who shouldn't do a fast then?
Okay, there's several people who should probably stay away from fasting. I would say people who have a history of eating disorders, those kind of illnesses, who are not in full remission, who do not have it under full control. Once you are fully in remission, you have it under control, and fasting is no longer an expression of your mental illness any longer, then okay. And I would still suggest have a coach that knows your history and knows what's going on and is competent to advise you in that regard. So if those with eating disorders, okay, fine. Type 1 diabetics obviously need to keep a much, much closer eye on things, obviously, because we will need to adjust your insulin intake and timing and stuff appropriately. Because obviously you're going to be consuming a diet with far less carbohydrate challenge in it. And if you continue doing the same thing with your insulin, you fucking kill yourself. Okay, so you don't want to be doing that. So I'm not saying those people should not do it, but they should definitely get alongside their healthcare professional and get that sorted in terms of your insulin intake, et cetera, et cetera. If you have an identified thyroid issue, that's someone who you should talk to someone like myself about that before you go diving into it without any, support or advice around that.
And what would be the reason for that?
Because when you do go to a low carbohydrate approach, at least for the first year or so, there can be issues with thyroid function tied up with the switch to a more ketogenic approach to energy provision. And it's not necessarily going to be a problem, but it's something we do need to keep an eye on and to make sure we support that person's thyroid function appropriately while ever they're transitioning, as I say, probably for a 12-month period. A lot of people think, you're going to go carnivore and 5 minutes later, everything's going to be swell. It's going to be great. All you do is you just drop out all the plant material, you just eat beef and fat and add butter and salt to taste and drink water and rinse and repeat it. So it'll be great. And within 5 seconds, everything that was ever wrong in your life will be right. And you'll have a 6-pack and you'll have a hot girlfriend and everyone will love you. And,
hey, that's definitely not what happened to me.
You'll go on the carnivore base.
I mean, either. Except for the hot girlfriend. I got the hot girlfriend thing happening, but, the rest of it, not so much. They often have to say to clients, when they say, look, I've been carnivore for 8, 9, 12, 15 months, and, I've still got all these issues. How long am I expected to wait for my health to come right? To which I usually swing around and say, how long did it take you to fuck your health up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crickets.
Yeah.
How many times have I said that to you, Scott? It didn't happen like this overnight.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, I have a lot of broken record comments I make to Scott, and that's probably one of them. It's going to take time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a couple decades in of my spinach smoothies and my almond flour pancakes and cramming a bunch of grains down my throat every day and all that stuff. So it's going to take a little while for me to get better for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's a process. It's a road. Enjoy the ride is what I say to people. And, your results may vary. It's in the fine print.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see here. There was something else I was going to say about fasting. Can't remember that. So let's move on to ketosis and how vigilant should people be in actually checking their ketones? There are some people that say don't need to check them ever. Some people are like, you gotta really check them. Other people say you gotta look at the ketone insulin ratio. How much people need to be thinking about this, and are there individual ranges?
This whole area is a particular bugbear of mine. Okay, and this may not be soothing to a lot of you. And frankly, I couldn't give a fuck. Here are the facts on it, okay? If you own some ketone analysis kit, throw it in the fucking rubbish bin. Do that today. Get it out of your house. Don't ever test your ketones under any circumstances. It is a complete fucking waste of time. Okay. So there are a number of reasons why I say that.
Hang on, let me go get mine real quick.
One.
I have one too.
Yep. Okay, get rid of it. Get it out of your house. Get it out of your life. It will not give you any useful information on anything whatsoever. It's
Really?
a complete waste of time. Yep. Especially urine ketones.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But
Yep.
you know, we were using it for like to figure out your insulin ratio. You know, dividing your blood glucose by your ketone.
If you're a type 1 diabetic and you are concerned that your insulin dosing is not correct, then there can be some reasons to have a look at your ketones, but you should do that under controlled conditions in a laboratory situation. Just a random blood test at some point in time where you will get a doctor to say, go and get your ketones tested or whatever, or go and test your ketones at home and tell us what the result is. The value, both in your blood and in your urine, of the ketones does not reflect necessarily on the rate at which ketones are being produced by your body. Ketones that are pooling in your blood and therefore pooling in your urine are there precisely because ketogenesis is proceeding at a rate above the rate at which acetyl coenzyme A is being drained through your metabolic pathways in the Krebs TCA cycle and also in the mitochondria in there. So if you wake up in the morning and you take a blood ketone level, that'll give you a fairly good resting level of blood ketones, assuming you slept well, you had no psychologically disturbing dreams, or other forms of exciting dreams, Scotty, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. If you were not particularly stressed the day before, if nothing went wrong in your life, if you had no arguments with your spouse, significant other, or family members, if you ate a standard diet and consumed a standard amount of hydration as well, if you had a standard amount of light hitting your skin that day, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? It's just complete fucking nonsense to take your ketones, is what I'm telling you. It's a waste of time. The signal-to-noise ratio is so vast that the result means basically nothing. All it is an indication that at some point in the last probably 18 hours or so, you have at some point been producing ketones. Okay. Also, if you take your blood ketone level too soon after you've eaten a meal, you'll find that it drops to 0 because a meal, any meal, will kick you out for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time, depending how much you ate and what it was. If you get out of bed, walk around the house, go and have a wee, which you have to do to go and have a wee to get the urine analysis happening. All of that is muscular contraction. All of that's muscular activity. All of that will use acetyl coenzyme A, and that will drain ketones out of your blood. So if you're taking, I didn't take my ketones this morning. I'm an hour into my day now. I've had breakfast. I've been walking around the house. Forget it.
So what you're saying is, it's not so much about the ketones. It's just lowering the glucose is the more important part. Is that right?
Ketones are never going to cause you a problem.
He's not saying that living ketogenically is not healthy for us, right? But just
no, I'm not saying that at all. No,
don't need to be
please, people, don't think for a moment, people, that I'm saying you shouldn't live a ketogenic lifestyle. Yes, you should. I've been doing that for 26 years myself. Okay, it works well. What I'm saying is not only do you not need to bother testing your ketones at any given time, it's a waste of time and money. It's a have. You are not going to get any information of any value or utility from testing your ketones. You need to go to a very, very well-controlled, scientifically, everything under control laboratory. And you need to go and sleep there overnight, which again is going to be, not your normal environment. So it's going to throw you out psychologically. So it's going to invalidate it anyway. Forget it. It's just a waste of time.
How would somebody know if they were, well, obviously if they were only eating carnivore, I guess, for the most time, but some people say they don't eat enough fat and they eat too much protein, or they're eating too often and they're never fasting. How would somebody know what level of ketosis they were in?
Why would they want to know that?
Just because for lowering inflammation and for health and for all of that, they wanted to be in ketosis.
Why would somebody want to be in ketosis? The goal of a ketogenic diet is not to produce ketones or to be in ketosis or to have ketones in your blood or in your urine.
Okay.
It's a badly named dietary approach. It's a badly named lifestyle. It's called ketogenic because ketogenesis is an important part of the process of energy provision under such circumstances. But that doesn't mean the value of the ketones in your blood or in your urine is of any value to you to know anything about. It's all under control of your genes. You have a set of genes that have survived 4.5 million years, basically, in its current form as human beings and very similar to human beings. They've been doing it a very, very long time. Your body knows how much ketone to produce and when. It does it exactly on cue when it's supposed to. What you need to worry about, each individual you, each listener, each watcher of this podcast, your goal is to eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet for as much of the time as is possible and practical in your life. And a species-appropriate, species-specific diet is 100% carnivore, no plant material of any kind. That's all you need to do. Nothing artificial. The flesh and fat of mostly large ruminant animals, grass-fed. Add butter if you like, add salt to taste, drink water, rinse and repeat the next day. If you mess up on any given day, forgive yourself, move on, and do better the next day. Don't fall into a pattern of abusing your body with stuff that is not food for human beings, and plants and plant materials and carbohydrates, manufactured foods, anything in a packet pretty much that you get from a supermarket. None of that is food. When you go into a supermarket, shop around the 4 external walls of the supermarket. There is no reason for you to ever go down any of those aisles in the center. There is nothing there that's food for human beings.
So, Bart, is there an ideal way of eating carnivore? Are you a big fan of eating organs? What about dairy? Are there any things you suggest maybe adding to the diet or avoiding on the diet?
Okay. Yep, great question. I'm not a fan of chasing organ meats and saying you must eat a whole bunch of organ meats, you must eat nose to tail. That's another idea from that guy called Paul that we don't agree with, frankly. If anything, it does subject you to some risk of toxicity of things like, for example, vitamin A can occur. I've never seen it occur, but that doesn't mean it can't. I have been eating a 90% upwards carnivore diet, for 6.5 years now. And in that time, I think I've eaten liver about 4 times total. I haven't fallen to pieces. I haven't dropped dead of scurvy. I haven't gone blind because I don't have enough retinol in my system. Everything seems to be tracking pretty well okay in that regard. You do not need to eat nose to tail, not at all. In fact, I would suggest to people like Paul who say you do, great Paul, how did the last nose you ate taste, son? How yummy was that last nose you had? Okay, how about that last asshole? How tasty was that? Do you like to eat ass, Paul, I say? Because the ass is between the tail and the nose, isn't it, son?
You might be surprised at the answer.
No, I might like to let's not go there. Anyway, that devolved quickly, didn't it, Scott? It must be your influence, son. You're bad for me. That's what it is.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm a big fan of the soil and earth, or whatever the hell it's called.
I'm a big fan of arse myself, frankly. That's why I went there. It's because I'm anally fixated. It must be. Anyway, no, organs not necessary. So eat them if you like. If you feel better on them, fine. Don't overdo it because there can be a problem with it sometimes. Just do it moderately here and there, once a week or something. If you really feel you must. I don't feel I must. I don't feel I'm suffering because of that. Fine, whatever.
So do you feel like people need to pay attention to how much fat they're getting in, or just eating the fat that comes with the meat they're eating?
I think that if anything, on a carnivore diet, people tend to not eat enough fat. There aren't many people who are simply not eating enough protein. Mm-hmm. It can happen, absolutely. And I believe that's what did happen to our friend Paul, who shall remain nameless except for Paul. That's why he had an issue with his insulin response, and that's why he had an issue with his electrolytes, and that's why he started pouring honey and fruit down his neck, because he thought that was the solution to the problem, when actually, Paul, the solution was to up your protein because you weren't taking in enough protein for you. Paul's protein requirements would be a lot higher than mine. He's a bigger bloke than me. He's much more active, much fitter than I am. No surprise. Okay, fine. But most of us are not deficient in our protein intake on a carnivore diet. Most of us are not getting enough fat in. So I always say to people, always add a nub of butter, a decent nub of butter, like a tablespoon or more to your steak. And I always do. I think it adds to the whole experience anyway. I think it's great. I love butter. It's the best stuff ever.
Everything better.
It's good, including anal. But that's for another day as well. It's also for another day. That's not why we called.
Are you sure?
Perhaps not butter, because it can.
Don't be too sure.
Yeah, maybe the water-based lubes are better for that, especially if you're using condoms, because anything fat-based will dissolve.
He's going vegan. You know, a lot of his choices are changing.
Yeah.
So Bart, so you are a fan of dairy then?
Dairy is plus or minus, and it's very well individual based on whether or not you individually have an issue with lactose, which a very large proportion of the population do. And some of them, it's quite mild and they don't really realize it, but it actually does cause them quite a significant problem. And then they live their lives with that problem when they needn't have, without thinking, oh, hang on, maybe it's because I'm drinking dairy and having dairy and I shouldn't be. And you get those people to drop the dairy out and they go, oh, shit, I can breathe. My sinuses have cleared. The mucus has stopped. I thought that was normal. No, it's not normal. It's horrible, you know. Most people, in fact, more people than not, have an issue with the sugar that you'll find in dairy. So if you don't have a problem with it, definitely, and you think you get some meaningful, serious benefit from the dairy, I don't have a problem with you eating dairy. My dairy intake personally is, because I do have a problem with lactose, absolutely. My dairy consumption is limited to heavy cream, which I haven't when I'm drinking coffee, yogurt, and that's okay because of the bacterial change to the sugars that render it no longer lactose problem causing for me. Although I do need to be careful, it has to be natural Greek style yogurt, unflavored, unsweetened, all of that, obviously. Cheese, but I don't eat a lot of cheese because I don't like it very much generally, but I'll have some cheese here and there. And that's pretty much it for dairy for me.
No ghee.
Have you?
No ghee, no milk.
Have you tried like raw A2 dairy?
I have tried raw dairy. Fine, not a problem. I didn't necessarily see any huge benefit to it. At the end of the day, dairy is the secretions of cows, and it's designed for pre-weaned cows. That's its biological role. That's what it's there for. It's designed for that. It's ideal for that. Given that human beings are not pre-weaned, most of us, and neither are we cows, sure, you can get some stuff out of it that can be of benefit, but the risks are significant too, like, for example, an intolerance to the bovine form of the lactose and or the other proteins that you'll find in there.
So
you don't need dairy for calcium.
Shouldn't make themselves eat these foods if they don't really want to, but if they do and they don't have an issue with it, then that's fine.
No. I'm not falling over from osteoporosis. My bones aren't breaking under the weight of my body. My last scan, which was some time ago, sure, but my bone mineral density was absolutely fine. I'm not a fitness buff or anything like that these days, but I remain active. I'm not breaking things every time I do something. I can go and punch a punching bag out in the garage right now if I want to, 10 or 15 times, and the worst thing I'm going to get is some bruising on my knuckles. These ideas that, you must have milk for calcium. Well, no. How much milk do adult cows drink? They've got huge, robust skeletal structures full of calcium. They don't drink any milk. The last time they drank any milk was when they pre-weaned off their mother. Yeah. Where do they get calcium from? Well, they get it from grass. Does that mean you should eat grass? No. In actual fact, they don't get the calcium from the grass at all, in truth. Cows get their protein and their calcium and their minerals and everything else they actually get. Cows get their nutrition not from grass at all, but from the bacteria that have been living in their first 3 of their 4 stomachs that have been breaking down the grass that they eat precisely in order to feed the bacteria. And then in the 4th stomach, they metabolize and dissolve and digest the bacteria they've been hosting. That's where cows get their nutrition. Cows are carnivores, obligate. They're not herbivores at all, just because they eat grass. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, seriously. Well, I've been making like fermented or cultured dairy products with raw, and that's gone really well. Making yogurt and sour cream and kefir, and I find that those have really helped me as I'm working on gut health.
Yep. Some of the fermented stuffs can be beneficial on a case-by-case basis to different people who may have slight dysbioses of some kind, or maybe it supports their biotic situation. Sure, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it's generally necessary. The best way to look after your microbiome is not to fuck it up in the first place.
True.
I find.
Well, let's talk about the microbiome for a minute. Like, how concerned do you think people need to be with it? Because there's a lot of information out that points to, gut dysbiosis causing a lot of, say, mental health issues that we have, a lot of other health issues, autoimmune disease, detox issues, and all of that. So, number one, how concerned do people need to be about that? And number two, what are the main ways, like avoiding all the crap, that you can promote gut healing?
Right. Okay. So yes, the microbiome situation is absolutely critical. It's absolutely crucial in your overall general health status. Nothing will mess your health up more rapidly than having a messed up microbiome or dysbiosis going on. There are more nerve endings in the enteric cells of your digestive alimentary canal than anywhere else in your body put together. Often the gut is referred to as the second brain for that reason, because it knows everything that's going on in there. And if anybody is upset in there, or the enteric cells are upset, or there's inflammation or leaky gut or any of that going on, that translates to your overall health, including your mental health, lickety-split, as quick as you like. There are nerve lines that run directly from the gut to your brain. Many forms of mental health disturbance are absolutely, it seems, attributable directly cause and effect to gut dysbiosis. We can't claim that absolutely because we don't have the experimental evidence to back it, but it looks like that's what's going on. That said, when you say we'll find what is a healthy gut microbiome, well, there are many different forms of healthy gut microbiome. There are different balances, different speciations that will work. There are different, in the way that any village can be made up of all sorts of different personalities, and the village as a whole works or not, depends on exactly who's in the village. So the best answer to what is a healthy microbiome is, well, that's the microbiome that's possessed by someone who is apparently healthy, however that might look. And if someone is in bad systemic health, the first place I would look, not literally, obviously, you know,
if only we could do that. I mean,
yeah, well, perhaps, yeah. You know, and that's the first place you would look. You would look to someone's microbiome as being, you know, an issue that you can sort out. Okay, what is the best way to care for and look after your microbiome? Two things. And the second one predicated on the first, if you like. The first thing is eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet for Homo sapiens, human beings. That is the flesh and associated fat. No, it's not vegan, Scott. Sorry. It's the flesh and fat of largely ruminant animals. You can add in other animals as well. You can add in some pork. You can add in some poultry. You can add in some fish, absolutely. But the basis of the diet is large ruminant animals. The flesh and fat that's associated with that. That's the best diet, basically. No plant material at all. None. And no fiber. So that's the first thing that you can do to help look after your microbiome. The second most important thing you can do to look after your microbiome is don't change your diet suddenly, as we spoke about earlier. Change it very, very glacially, very slowly over weeks in order to give your microbiome the full opportunity to adjust to the new situation.
Yeah,
that's
that would include having bacterial die-off, right? Or not even just bacteria, but having die-off in the gut. We're wanting to avoid that. Yeah.
You want to avoid that situation. You want it to happen. Well, it will happen, but you want it to happen slowly so that it's not going to upset your gut and thereby upset your whole health status. You can actually set yourself back 6 months or a year by just messing up your microbiome, which you can do in a matter of a couple of days if you do the wrong thing.
Yeah,
it can really be very succinct. Yep.
Like how long the recovery can be when somebody.
It can be a long road back, and it can be really hard work to get back. Again, it comes back to that thing you ask about, well, how long did it take you to mess your health up? Well, in this case, it's not fair. You mess up your microbiome and you can be in a bad way for a year or more sometimes.
I've heard some people even end up getting over open like C. diff and things like that after rocking the boat with Carnivore too much too quickly. It could be a pretty severe situation.
Right. And the final thing to looking after your microbiome, which is very, very important, is this. Unless you are told by a medical professional that you will die if you do not take these antibiotics, don't take antibiotics.
That's what happened to me.
Do not take antibiotics unless you are told if you refuse these antibiotics, you will die, and it's because we have tested you and we know what strain of bacteria is causing you a problem. It is this strain, and this is the antibiotic you need to kill it. Otherwise, it will kill you. In all other situations, do not touch antibiotics, not with a 9-foot barge pole. There you go.
Yeah, they are the worst. What about is it necessary to take probiotics or to eat probiotics?
No. Unless you're already messed up and you think that it might help, in which case it's a bit of a lottery, because again, what is a healthy gut microbiome? Well, we've seen a bunch of them from healthy people that seem to be associated with certain propensities for certain speciations to prevail, etc. We don't have any cause and effect data, though. We're not sure. It's fair to say we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the gut microbiome, really.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole idea that there are good and bad microbiome speciations, no, that's nonsense. We don't know that. It's like saying there's good and bad cholesterol. Of course there bloody isn't.
Right. So let's see.
Just before you begin, I think we have to start winding it down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my family's going to get really mad at me because it's pretty late here in Florida. So it's almost 10:30. So.
Okay.
Let me ask you one more question about fasting, because I skipped over that one. So is there, okay, situation, say that somebody is underweight, right? Or they're not wanting to lose any weight. There's a bunch of people that are concerned about fasting for that reason, that, you know, I don't want to lose any weight, so I shouldn't fast. Is there a way that they can fast safely?
I would suggest on a case-by-case basis that people like that ought to probably come to someone like myself for one-on-one consultancy on that, because there will be individual factors at play there. If a person has any amount of stored body fat to speak of at all, then they will tend not to lose muscle mass until there is no fat left at all, because your body will protect that against that kind of usage. One of the best ways to also ensure that is you might even just do a protein fast with some of those individuals potentially. Again, case by case, I'm not giving that advice to people. I'm just saying that is a tool that I have used in my kit bag at times for, you know, if I've got someone who is a recovering anorexic, for example, who maybe has a very serious dysbiosis because they've changed their diet too suddenly. Whoops, we're in a problem here. Okay, well, we can use protein as an insurance policy, for example. No, that's very much an individual one. I think that's beyond the scope of what we could give someone generalized advice on.
Sure. What were we going to say?
Okay.
All right. Did you have any last questions, Jen, before we let Bart go?
Covered a pretty good bit.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Listen, guys, anytime whatsoever, please just send me an email, let me know, whatever, or just book it straight into my calendar. If you want to talk turkey and make videos and ask questions, and you know, I'm up for it pretty much at any time. This is my job. I don't do anything else. Well, I do. I do this, the YouTube thing. I do consultancies one-on-one for people who may have health concerns and issues. You can contact me for that if you like at bit.ly/BART-KAY. Very easy. And I also promote a line of nutraceutical supplement products, not for nutritional purpose, but for nutraceutical purpose, which we can talk about another day if you like. That's my income streams as it is. So anytime you want to make material for YouTube or any other platform, sing out, absolutely keen to do it.
All right, we're gonna get you to play those guitars for us next time.
Oh, if you like. Or actually, if you look on my YouTube channel, there's 1 or 2 videos of me playing guitar there already.
Okay, I'll check that out for sure.
There's even one of me singing.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I want to hear
that. Bart, I also would love to do a reaction video with you. Have you seen the Oxford meat debate?
I haven't. I've been told that it would piss me off, and I'll get to it. But it's a matter of time, and blah blah.
Okay.
So we might absolutely.
Yeah, maybe we'll have you on and do a reaction video to that.
Look it in.
Now, Jenn, are you still accepting clients?
It's kind of iffy right now. Excuse me, kind of iffy right now. But I am receiving emails, and if I can put somebody into the schedule, I will. I'm kind of having to keep things pretty simple at the moment.
Okay. So I'll put Jen's email in the description. I'll put some of Bart's info in the description. So you guys need to check out Bart's podcast. It's my favorite podcast. It's hilarious. So I love it. And you get tons of great info out of it as well. So, Bart, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. Coach Jenn, you're the best. I'm hoping we could do this again soon.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate you talking to us.
That's all.
Thanks again.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.